Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Piedmont Unitarian Universalist Church. Piedmont UU sits on the traditional lands of the Catawba, the Kiowa, and the Sugaree peoples. My name is Cosette Blackmer. My pronouns are she, her, and this morning I am the worship assistant for Reverend Shakeisha Holton Gray. Welcome, Shakeisha. We are a flourishing, vibrant, and radically welcoming congregation. We promote diversity, inclusion, and social justice. We provide a safe haven for creative, intellectual growth, spiritual development, and a deep sense of community for all who join us. We hope our liberal religious values will challenge you to join us in a community that lives boldly and acts justly. Now, to all our visitors and members, we're glad you're here, whether in person or visiting with us online, and we hope to see you again. Your presence is truly a gift to us. We have a couple of announcements this morning. First, we are beginning our generosity pledge campaign. Woo! And yes. And Harry Lancaster, co-chair for the generosity team, is going to come forward for a minute and share a little bit about that.
Yeah, right. You need me at the microphone.
Yes.
Well, last week we had a wonderful generosity picnic here in the sanctuary. We're grateful for all the efforts by the generosity team. That includes Rhiannon, Elaine, Nancy, Mary, and Isabel, and from all the others, especially Sam and Risa, who chipped in. By the way, we have 2 bags of barbecue pork in the freezer in the refrigerator that we would like a donation of $20 each for those bags of barbecue if you are interested. Our 2024 generosity campaign, Lighting the Flame for Tomorrow, officially kicks off today. You can expect to receive a paper pledge package in the mail this coming week. Please read it, review it carefully, and submit your 2024 pledge as soon as possible, but no later than October 23rd. This is an important time in the life of our church. As Cosette already mentioned this morning, we've got a wonderful, we're growing in so many ways. There's so many ways that we're trying to, that we are radically welcoming, and that we have a wonderful, hardworking staff. We have an important welcoming message of love and social justice to share, not only with our community, but just the entire region. We have an opportunity with this pledge campaign to light a flame that's a beacon for the wider world. Our 2024 goal for pledges is $225,000. It's approximately 20 to 25% greater than what was pledged in 2023. And that's a steep increase, but it's necessary to fund our target budget that acknowledges many of the things that we said in our listening circles that we want to do. The generosity team is asking members to pledge at least 10% over last year if they can. Jane and I have increased our pledge by 15%. Approximately 2 weeks ago, we invited church leadership to pledge early. So far, we have commitments of approximately $93,000, over 40% of our goal. So please help us meet our goal and submit your pledge by October 23rd. If you have any questions, you can please see me or anyone else on the generosity team, and Elaine and Nancy, if you would raise your hands, that would be great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Harry. One special announcement this morning. We've received a thank you from North Carolina Warren for our generous donation of over $400, and this is donation from our shared plate, which we collect every month for different recipients. So I have this up here if anybody wants to take a look at it. Amanda is having a card-making fundraiser after the church today. Amanda, did you want to say a few words about that?
Just that I would love for people to join us. I've got kits as well as to make them from scratch, and all different types of cards that you want to make, whether it's thank you, birthday, sympathy, whatever. I've got a little bit of everything. So,
And are these for personal use or are they donated? Okay. She has kits available for those of you listening at home, and all different kinds of cards. Thank you. Or you could, if you can make one up yourself with all the supplies that she's brought. So if you're not here right now, there's still time. All right. For other important information about our vibrant community, please see your order of service, or if you are on our email list, check our monthly newsletters and weekly announcements. Whatever brought you to this place at this hour, we welcome you. May you find something that you need, and may you leave richer in spirit than when you arrived.
It's good to be back. It's like coming home. The chalice is the symbol of our faith. We take inspiration knowing that as each Unitarian Universalist community gathers for worship, they too light a chalice. We recognize its light as a commitment to our shared faith. As we kindle this flame, we illuminate the sacred in all of us. We are held from day to day, week to week, month to month by its shining example. We are brought together this day, called to growth, to expansion within its glow. We are nurtured by the beacon of its promise that we are never alone. Please join me in singing the words to lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith. Thank you, Anne. I invite you to please stand as you are willing or able, and if you need to remain seated, that is fine as well. Our call to worship this morning is going to be a responsive reading from the back of our gray hymnal, number 437, Let Us Worship. You'll read the parts in italics. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon the mystery and the revelation in the faces of our siblings. We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into a great common life if we will only open our eyes to our companions. Let us worship, not bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped hearts. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with the rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love. If you may please remain standing for our opening hymn, number 348, in the same hymnal, Guide My Feet. We move now into our time of ritual and sacred sharing, a time for sharing our joys and sorrows, our concerns and milestones. First, this week, we light a candle for the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The ongoing struggle for civil rights in Iran, and for all areas of violence and conflict around the world, especially in the Sahel region of Africa and the war in Ukraine. We light a candle for generous spirits and the flames for which light our church. For Scott, as he recovers from health concerns. For Carl, with the adjustment to his new pacemaker. And for Michelle, as she continues to recover from her fall. At this time, you are welcome and invited to come up and fill out a prayer card, drop a stone in our shared water, or light your own candle of joy or concern. Some of us had to pick just the right stone that spoke to us. And for that, we are grateful. Cosette, if you could please light a few more candles for those things we hold in our hearts that remain unspoken, and for those joining us from elsewhere this morning to honor what is in their hearts as well. I invite you now into a time of quiet rest, meditation, or prayer as we follow the sound of the singing bowl into the silence. After a few moments of silence, we will have our musical meditation, hymn number 1009, Meditation on Breathing.
Our wisdom reading this morning is from the UU minister and writer Robert Fulghum, adapted from his best-selling book, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. All I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom is not at the top of a graduate school mountain, but there in the sand pile at school. These are the things that I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you've hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work. Every day, some. Take a nap every afternoon. When you go out in the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed in the styrofoam cup. The roots go down and the plant goes up, and nobody really knows how or why. But we are all like that. Goldfish and hamsters and white mice and even little seeds in styrofoam cups, they all die. So do we. And then remember the Dick and Jane books and the first words you learned, and the biggest word of all, look. Everything you need to know is in there somewhere. The golden rule and love and basic sanitation, ecology and politics, and equality and sane living. Take any one of those items and extrapolate it into your sophisticated adult terms and apply it to your family life or your work or government or your world, and it holds true and clean and firm. Think what a better world it would be if we all, the whole world, had cookies and milk at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then laid down in our blankets and took a nap. I do that. Or if all governments had as a basic policy to always put things back where they found them and clean up their own mess. And it is still true, no matter how old you are, when you go out in the world, it is best to hold hands, stick together.
I think I'm going to do something I don't normally do. And I'm going to invite you to do that with me. I'm going to take off my shoes. Because this is a sacred space. And it helps to just be grounded. Because there's some sacred sharing that's going to happen today as I open myself to you all this morning. I've been fortunate to travel internationally several times in my life, and I just recently went to a trip to Scotland in June. Some of you may know about that trip. So that trip included, that means that I've been to the UK 4 times now. It's a place that I keep returning to, and my spouse has said, can we choose someplace else different next time? In 2017, I was taking a course in graduate school on Celtic spirituality, the summer before my final year started, the summer before I began an intensive chaplaincy program. I've spoken about that before, CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education. In that course, we read the book, The Pilgrim Heart, The Journey Home, The Inner Journey Home by Reverend Sarah York, also a UU minister. She lives in Asheville. She's retired now. And for the class, we went to Iona. I don't know if you are familiar with that. It's in the Inner Hebrides. It's sort of like a pilgrimage place. And my girlfriend and I, my friend and I, Carrie, we decided to stay an extra week in Scotland while we were there and to backpack through the Highlands like a couple of university students. It didn't matter that we were married and had kids and were both on the cusp of 40. We were there and we were going to make the most of it. And the whole entire trip, our course instructor who was facilitating it kept asking, "Where do you find God?" As if Iona is the only place that you can make a pilgrimage and find something divine and sacred. So Carrie had gotten it in her mind. She practices a lot of earth-based spirituality, that she had wanted to visit a Cloidy well. Now, I'm only familiar with the Cloidy well from the show Doc Martin. Has anybody else watched that show on PBS or BritBox or Acorn? So before he became, I don't want to say well-loved character that he is, he had a couple of made-for-TV movies before the series started, and one of them was about a Cloidy well. And Cloidy wells are an ancient Celtic practice. You can find them throughout Ireland and Scotland, not so much in Wales and England. But in Scotland, the word derives from clwt, or cloth. And the whole purpose, the premise is that you take a piece of cloth from yourself or someone else, and you dip it into this spring that's naturally occurring in the wild, and you tie it to a tree or a branch or a bush, and as that cloth disintegrates, because this was pre-polyester, as that cloth disintegrates, healing will happen. And so I went along with it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I know what that is. I saw Doc Martin. I'll do this. We'll do it. We'll have fun. It'll be great. And so we went to the Munlochy Cloidy well on the Black Isle just outside of Inverness. We had to hire a cab to take us there because we were backpacking, y'all. We just used public transportation, trains, ferries, like buses, you name it, that's what we took. So we had to hire a cab driver for this. And we arrive, and as we get there, we're approaching from, it's on our left-hand side, and you can start to see colors in the green trees, reds and blues and whites and grays. And we get into the parking lot, and we get out of the car, and I hear an owl hoo. And I kind of thought, wow, this is pretty cool. Owls, for those of you who remember when we had Dudley here several years ago from the Carolina Raptor Center, who was hooing almost as if on cue when our minister at that time was doing their service. So it was pretty cool to have an owl hoo when you get out of the car in this parking lot. And we get up to where the trailhead is, and you start to see these pieces of fabric and cloth, and as you get closer, you can hear the spring bubbling out of the earth. And as you get closer, you see more and more. And there are folks that have tied casts, and there's a giant flag hanging, a Scottish flag. And you see lots of socks and underwear and brassieres, because I'm pretty sure sometimes people are like, oh, let's just stop there, and then they don't have anything to leave. They do ask, because it's run by the National Forestry Service of Scotland, that you use biodegradable pieces of fabric. And so my friend went through a more involved ritual, as that's something that she practices as part of her faith-based spirituality. I just dunked my water and was on my way down the trail to find a place to tie it off. And as I'm walking down the trail, and there are just thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of fabric and scarves lining the trees in various stages of decay, I see a baby blanket. And it's a Winnie the Pooh baby blanket. I had my own Winnie the Pooh baby blanket that I used for all 3 of my own children. And that was just enough to crack whatever vessel was there. And I just lost it and started sobbing and crying right there in the woods in the middle of nowhere on a continent that I had only ever visited like once before at that time. Because I didn't know what the story was behind that baby blanket. And I didn't need to know. What I knew was that they were asking for help and healing in some way. And so was I. And as I tied up my piece of washcloth at that time, I heard that owl again. And that entire week before that we had spent on Iona, nothing had touched me as sacredly and as deeply as that moment at the Cloydy Well. So we end our trip and we come home and we finish graduate school, and then some of y'all know the story that happened after that. For those of you who don't know, 3 days after graduating, I was T-boned by someone who ran a red light and spent quite a few years in the healing process and still live with ongoing chronic pain from that. And I took some time back, a sabbatical of healing, I called it. But then I started my CPE residency at Baptist Hospital during the pandemic. And when you do a chaplaincy program, you have a lot of traumas that come in. And on top of those traumas, now we had a pandemic. My own neuro ICU unit had been taken up as an overflow unit for COVID patients. And then, in 21, my mom unexpectedly died. And so we had a lot of life that happened in this last 5 or 6 years. So when we were thinking of what to do with some of the insurance money from my mom, it took 2 years to go through probate. She did not have a will. It was unexpected. I said, we could do the smart thing. We could put that money in the bank. We put it in our money market, put it in, or we could go somewhere. Because I really need to go back to the Cloydy Well. I had been saving my clothes from the car accident, and I just felt like I really needed to just move on and heal and let go from the last 5 to 6 years and all of the ups and downs and waves that were brought my way. And being a good spouse, Jason was like, okay. So I cut a piece of my shorts, which were 100% cotton, and I put them in my bag for my carry-on because it was not going to get lost. And we planned this trip for months and months, and I had the itinerary set to where the first full day that we were there, we were going to go to the Cloydy Well, we were going to get it done, we were going to get it over with. That was my pilgrimage. I was a woman on a mission, and then when that was done, we were going to just enjoy the rest of our 2 weeks there. Griffin, our youngest, who turned 16 at the end of July, this was in June, he was the only one of our children that joined us, so it was just the 3 of us, a new stage of our family. So we go, we get there, we arrive to the Cloydy Well, and this time we're coming in from the other side, so it's on our right side. And I don't see the stuff that I had seen when we were coming in from the other direction in 2017. But that's okay. It's probably just because we're coming from the other side of the road. We get to the parking lot, we get out, and we start walking the trail. And I'm like, well, where's all the stuff that was here? Because I don't see as much stuff as I remember in my mind there being. And maybe I just made it up because I was so in the moment in 2017, right? It was so spiritual for me, and I connected to this place. And maybe I made it seem more grand than it was. But then I hear the well. And I'm like, well, where's all the stuff? I know by now that there should be more stuff. And we get there, and there's no flag, there's no casts, there's no undergarments. Everything has been stripped bare, with the exception of maybe just a handful of socks and a t-shirt. And I have this moment where I'm just dumbfounded, because it threw me for a complete loop. I felt abandoned and almost stripped naked in the middle of these woods, because where was that connection to all these generations of people who had come here for healing? All those stories, all those lives. Where was my own story in that? I wandered down the way, and where I had tied my cloth in 2017, the entire area was just stripped clean. And my poor spouse. Even though our last name is Gray, he lives very much in the black and white. And he was like, "You okay?" No, I'm not okay. My world has been pulled out from under me. And I'm having this existential crisis, to where last time I had this divine, glorious moment. It's kind of funny when you think about it in that way, that the same place can evoke different feelings. And so I'm bound and determined now that I'm gonna hang my piece of cloth. And I dip it in the water, and I find this steep embankment, and Jason says, "Do you want help?" And I'm like, "No, I'm doing this myself." And I climb up there, and there's like a little tree that's very young, and I pull the branch down because I'm like, it's gonna be really high up there, no one's gonna take this down. And I tie the knot, and I'm thinking in my mind at the same time that I'm tying this knot is like, the whole purpose is that it disintegrates over time, because as the cloth disintegrates, the healing happens. But I'll be damned, because I'm gonna tie an extra knot in this thing. No one is gonna take this cloth down. Right? It's more of a metaphysical healing for me at this point. But this cloth is not coming off. And I let it go, and I see it go up there, and I'm thinking, all right, it's up there. Nothing is bringing that down. And we spend a little bit more time there, and then we get back in the car, and we're on our way back to our Airbnb. And I'm sobbing, I'm crying, I'm feeling all the feels, and Jason's just like, "I love you. You'll be okay." And I'm trying to process this, right? So the rest of that day was just a wash. I was just like done. I was so emotionally drained, forget about it. But we pick up the pieces and we move about the trip, and we have a great rest of the trip. I think the highlight was taking Griffin to Hadrian's Wall. He had been taking Latin for the last couple of years, and the entire trip he was like this. Yeah. I don't care.
16.
I don't care, right? And that day, the phone got left in the car, and he was just telling me all about the Roman army did more building than they did fighting, and this is what a century looks like, and this is what a legion is, and I'm just enjoying the moment because he's enjoying the moment, and it was awesome. So we come home, and we're now into July, and I have a friend who is a professor of psychology. And the only time that we can usually meet is during the summers, during the academic year. And we meet over crepes. And she had been to Scotland the year before. So she was like, "How was your trip?" And I was like, "It was okay." And as I'm sharing, I'm crying, she's crying, and I'm wallowing in self-remorse here, like, where's my connection to all my people that are grieving and hurting? And she says, "No. What I hear in your story is that you're part of the rebuilding of what's to come." She's like, "I'd like to imagine that when you let go of that branch, it was like a cartoon. It just boing, 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 boing." And in my mind, it kind of was. But she said, "No, you're part of the rebuilding. Now when someone else comes and they see that this place has been stripped, and they walk along the path and they look up, they'll see your fabric there. And they'll know, and they'll feel connected, and they'll tie their own piece of cloth." Sometimes it takes someone from outside your story to help you reimagine what you've been feeling on the inside of your story. That rebuilding of community, of the journeys that we're all on, of loss and grief and healing and love and life and celebration. Right there in the middle of the woods, over a little stream that has been there for generations, since pre-Christian times. Now, we did some research, and the theory is that it was a woman from outside the area who came in and cleaned it up during lockdown overnight. I have my own theory, because there's no way one person could have taken all of that stuff in one night without anyone noticing. Locals were like, "Oh no, it was not us, because we don't want any bad stuff, bad vibes coming from cleaning up other people's prayers for healing," right? But you can Google it and look at the pictures pre and post cleanup, and you'll see what I'm talking about, because it's just overwhelming how stripped back it was. But underneath all of that, there's that connection to someone I will never meet, who will never meet me, who won't know the reasons behind my tying of the cloth, and I will never know their reasons why or their story. But we're all on a shared journey, a pilgrimage of our own sort, navigating our way through. And in the words of our reading from Robert Fulghum, go out into the world, hold hands and stick together. Be aware of wonder. And the most significant word of all, look. You might not need to look with your eyes to try to see what you're seeing. And whether that happens unexpectedly, and whether we're fighting it like a kindergartner being dragged to school, "Oh no, I don't want to go." Or we're profoundly feeling it because we are in the moment. And whether we know it's happening, and whether we realize it after the fact or not. My prayer and my hope is that we all welcome a rebuilding and connection to community, whether it's with known or unknown friends. May it be so, and amen.
Thank you, Anne. Now let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place. Whoops, sorry, there's a generosity moment. Pardon me. We're going to invite Elaine Deck to come up and please share. I was so taken away with Kermit.
That was a beautiful piece, Anne. And boy, I sure miss her preaching. You were awesome. I have a question for you. When you think about lighting the flame for tomorrow, what comes to your mind? I've been a member here for 10 years, and it was either the first or the second year of my membership, I joined the generosity team. And there is where I met and worked alongside a group of very dedicated people and committed members who were working then to ensure our future. And I began to feel like I was part of a family. And now I know I'm part of a family. Because you who are sitting in this sanctuary and those watching us online are my spiritual family. And many of you are my dearest friends. Maybe you think, when you think about lighting the flame, about welcoming prospective new members with their children, or maybe campus improvements in both gatherings. Our generosity team's choice of this theme included those and many other aspects of our growth and our support for all of our members as we prepare for a new year together on our own collective spiritual paths. I personally reflect upon many aspects of that theme and how it describes a collective vision. It's collective because it takes each and every member and your financial contribution to ensure that we not only meet the financial needs of our obligations to staff and the needs of our gatherings, but of reaching out to communities in Salisbury and Charlotte and frankly beyond, because that's our mission. We covenant together. We promise to love and support one another and our world because we share a vision of peace and wholeness, not just for ourselves, but for our world. And I think our communities need our voice more than ever. And that's why our outreach committee is working to find avenues for our voice to be heard in effective and creative messaging in many, many different venues. This beloved community has thrived for 35 years because of our commitment. And now it's up to each of us to ensure that we continue to grow and thrive and make a difference in the lives of everybody we come in contact with, whether it's a visitor or a member or someone we meet in one of our communities. That's why I support our beloved community with my time and my talent, and especially my treasure, because I know it's worth it. It matters. You matter, and I matter. We all matter. This family of ours has come to my rescue more times than I can tell you, both when I asked and when I least expected it. Why? Because that's what family does. We don't always see how members in this beloved community actually provide care and service to one another in both communities in Charlotte here and Salisbury, but I can tell you work is always ongoing. For instance, our care team provide extraordinary support for members with needed food or transportation, or maybe somebody just to talk to. Our board of trustees work tirelessly on complex and challenging issues to ensure that we stay strong as a community. Our social justice teams here and in Salisbury reach out to our communities to ensure that everyone, including our LGBTQIA folks, are seen and heard and valued and not left out and not marginalized. Becky Schisler, who has her Compassion Closet organization, recognized this year by the city of Charlotte for supporting migrant families, provides needed food and clothing and family care items. And if you're going to be here on October 29th, you can help. Our worship and music teams work creatively and collaboratively together to ensure that we have the kind of services that not only inspire you, and they do, but also comfort us. And we're blessed to have extraordinary musicians in both gatherings. And our part-time staff who work tirelessly and frankly stealthily to make sure that the aspects of both gatherings are connected and we're moving forward. So remember that when we pledge, we ensure that we live into what we say every Sunday morning as we begin our church. When we say we are a flourishing, vibrant, and radically welcoming congregation, which promotes diversity, inclusion, and social justice. We provide a safe haven for creative intellectual growth, spiritual development, and a deep sense of community for all who join us. Who wouldn't want to contribute to that, right? Every pledge counts, regardless of the amount. So please join me to light our flame for tomorrow by what we pledge and what we contribute in all our ways. Why? Because we're family. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Now let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are the keepers of the dream. This month, we are sharing our offering plate with the Carrabas Pet Society. The Carrabas Pets Society is a nonprofit animal rescue organization that has been working since 2002 to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome abandoned, abused, and sick and neglected animals through their foster home system. They also educate the community on issues related to responsible pet ownership. We ask that you place your gift in the baskets as they make their way around the room. You are always welcome to give online at puuc.org or by texting PUUC at the number 73256. Today's offering will now gratefully be received.
We give thanks for the gifts contained within these baskets and for the many ways that we all contribute to this beloved community. And I just want to remind everyone the reason why we chose Cabarrus Pet Society, and while it's often on the calendar for the month of October, is because of our dear beloved Judith Poehler. Judy Poehler was their president during the time of her house fire, in which she perished trying to rescue her cats as well. And so they were a big part of putting together her memorial service. And so it's a way to honor the memory of Judy and the work that she did with Cabarrus Pet Society to keep them as our shared plate sponsor for the month of October. We thank you for the gift of your presence, whether here or joining us virtually. Let us now stand as you are willing and able for our closing hymn, hymn number 1017, and the teal hymnal, Building a New Way. Before we extinguish our chalice, if you took your shoes off, you can put them back on now. Cosette said, I've never taken my shoes off in church before. We need to have a little fun sometimes. I offer thanks for the many, many volunteers who helped make our worship service possible this morning. And we also ask that before you leave today, you please place your hymnals back on the rolling cart over here. We'll pull it out. Let us take a moment to give thanks, either in our hearts or with words, for the things in life for which we are grateful for today. I'll start. I am thankful to be back in this community.
I'm grateful for Shakeisha and all of my spiritual leaders.
Thank you.
Hope to see more of you.
Thank you.
I'm grateful to be back from COVID. I'll second that. I'm grateful to be back from COVID.
It's still a thing. COVID is still a thing, so we're all grateful that everyone's on the mend from it that had it.
I'm grateful for the harmony of the year and how, winter's coming and I hate it, but I know spring is coming too, so.
For those from home, Gail said she's thankful for the harmony of the year, and I told Cosette, it's October 1st.
I'm thankful for all my brothers and sisters who were concerned. They didn't have to be concerned. I'm here.
Your family.
That's right.
And we are grateful for you.
I leave us with this parting prayer meditation this morning. Spirit of life, holy mystery, God of many names. Yours is the voice that calls us to remember that we are not alone and that we are all linked to all other life. Just as you have called us together in community this morning, we act as the voice, the heart, the hands of a greater call. A call to walk with the wondered, to sing and dance with the worshipers, to proclaim the memory of those who have taken their leave, to wrap the despairing and the broken in the arms of love and community, and to hold the hands of all of us who have broken our word and call ourselves back again and again and again to the covenant and work of justice, humility, and steadfast faithfulness. For this is why we are here. May it be so. Blessed be. Shalom, Salem, and amen. We now extinguish the chalice, but we carry its light, its warmth, and its meaning with us until we meet again. May we go in peace, believe in peace, and create peace wherever we wander. May it be so. I love it.
Cecilia, can I see what you're working on?